or why? Let's ride. What are you doing? Four Sqaure Sports! I updated the intro. I had to get Alec and John a little clip of them. I found it from. Thank you, John. All right. We have a fun, jam-packed episode for you, but before we actually get into this episode, if you were a 1980s kid, unfortunately, you are taking a little bit of a hit this week. We have lost 3 of the most lovable and telling characters and names in the music, entertainment, and wrestling industries. And all of them played significant roles in the way the 1980s operated in our country. We're starting off with Malcolm Jamal Warner, who was 54 years old when he passed away on July 20th. He was part of The Cosby Show as one of the most lovable characters on that show, and he was also nominated for a couple Emmy Awards, and his charisma was second to none. Then we lost Ozzy Osbourne on Tuesday. If you don't know who he is, Black Sabbath, the head singer of the band. He performed his last concert the day after the 4th of July. He was in a wheelchair. He looked like he wanted to get up. But then literally less than 3 weeks after that, he passed away soundly at the age of 76. And then last but not least, and this is one hurts me the most, the immortal Hulk Hogan died on Thursday at the age of 71 due to a cardiac arrest. Hulk Hogan was one of the most colorful entertainers in the wrestling industry of all time. He had the 24-inch pythons. He was encouraging kids to take their vitamins and say their prayers. He was a guy that helped wrestlers get into the acting industry. He was responsible for the NWO, and he was a 6-time world champion in WWE. And when I watched SmackDown last night, I can only tell you the emotion that came over a lot of people's faces. So while we have a lot planned, I hate to start the show this way, but I would like it if we all just took a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. Anyway, it is July 26th, 2025 at the time of this recording. But if you're watching this on KIXP 102.3 FM, The Island Experience, it is July 27th, which is every Sunday when we do the show. And the title of this episode is Back to Business. Now, why is it called Back to Business? Because we continue our NFL division predictions with the AFC. We get more we get more NFL trivia that's rushing based. We are going to promote DAS Technology Consulting, our first sponsor for Four Sqaure Sports, amongst other things. And Kevin Zelis-Kovacs is not here at the moment, but when he does come in here, because his birthday's on Tuesday, when he comes in here, we're singing happy birthday to him. I don't care if he feels embarrassed. We're going to sing happy birthday to him because I've mentioned this before. We're not just a team. We've become a family. And Kevin is part of that. But anyway, Matt Sirianni here, John Welch, Alec Nava. How you gentlemen doing?
Awesome. Great to be back home.
I know. Apparently, Alec got a little sick while he was in Mexico, correct?
Yeah, it was a stomach bug, but don't worry. That's gone now. It's in the past. It was a stomach bug, but fortunately, that's all taken care of.
Awesome. John, how you feeling?
I am amazing. I had to move today. So in between that, I woke up, started watching Back Together Weekend on NFL Network, getting me pumped. We're 50 days away from regular season NFL football.
Oh, I can't wait.
And, Thursday is the Hall of Fame game. So we do actually have football in July.
Oh, my God. That's right. July 31st. The first day of preseason, technically. But we are going to start off, as much as we love football, we are going to start off with the Seattle Seahawks cap on. As much as we want to get into the NFL so heavily, we do got to get into the secondary thing on our show right now, and that's Major League Baseball. So, Major League Baseball is the second half of the season is officially underway. We have a few trades that went down. One of them is Ryan McMahon, who made his debut for the Yankees today. He went 1 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. But then there was also Gregory Soto, who was traded to the New York Mets. And then one of the biggest trades, one of the really big bombshells that actually hit the deadline, was Josh Naylor of the Arizona Diamondbacks got traded to the Seattle Mariners. And currently, the Mariners are favorites to get Eugenio Suarez to play third base. So it looks like Eugenio Suarez might return to Seattle after all. Suarez has been on fire this season. And the Mariners are looking to get into the postseason, as mentioned before. So I guess getting Suarez would be awesome. The Diamondbacks have already told Major League Baseball teams they're sellers. They're done. They've kind of given up on their season, which is kind of unfortunate. But at the end of the day, what can you really do with all the injuries they've suffered? But I want to get to John first, since the Mariners really made the splashes here. What did you make of them getting Josh Naylor?
I think that was a little unexpected, especially since the announcement came out right as I think they were wrapping up their series with the Brewers, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a surprise. And I think it's going to be an awesome addition. What I feel from the Mariners this year that I haven't in the last couple is, I feel like they have their eye on the prize. They got the eye of the tiger. They feel the playoffs. They know where they're at on the wild card hunt. I think they're chasing it. They're throwing money at it. The way that they've been bringing people up, the way that they've been making trades, they want to be they want to be playing baseball after October.
And one thing that I mentioned in our chat was that last year the Mariners were aggressive at the deadline too to beef up their offense. Remember last year when the Mariners had the best pitching staff in baseball, but their offense was putrid? Well,
Yep.
the offensive problem has been fixed. Julio Rodriguez hit 2 home runs yesterday. He's been doing really well as of late. Obviously, Cal Raleigh's leading the league in Major League Baseball with home runs. Polanco's been doing good too. Randy Rosarena looks like he's starting to come around. But now you add Josh Naylor to this offense. It looks like the Mariners are not playing around whatsoever. And the pitching staff is still good. Was it as dominant as it was last year? Not really. But it's good enough to win you baseball games.
Not to mention, Victor Robles just came back.
Exactly, Victor Robles as well. So there's a lot of good things happening with Seattle. And I'm not going to say they're going to win the AL West. I think that'd be kind of a stretch because Houston's been playing really well. But I think that this team could be a threat come October if they make it to the postseason. And I think they have a good chance of doing that. And actually, yeah, exactly. Now, one thing I want to do before we get into more Major League Baseball, I want to go over the standings so far into this season. And if you had told me that of all teams, the Toronto Blue Jays would have the best record in Major League Baseball, I would call you a freaking liar. Because seriously, I can't believe it.
Well, that's the benefit of being the best team at not striking out.
Seriously, they don't strike out a lot and they don't make a lot of mistakes. And the Yankees lost 2 out of 3 in their recent series against the Blue Jays. But one thing that the Yankee play-by-play team has said over and over and over again is that you can't make mistakes. Oh, my God. That was very quick.
Oh, that was quick. And already with the AC/DC shirt.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
So
what's going on, Kev? How are we doing, birthday boy?
Doing good. This is actually one of the shirts I got for my birthday, so I figured I rep it here.
Oh my goodness!
You got that for your birthday?
Yo!
Yeah, I got that for my birthday, yeah. I got the Malik Neighbors jersey too.
I saw the Malik Neighbors jersey.
Yeah.
We know about Neighbors.
Yep.
Dude, that's crazy.
Thank you.
Coming in like TNT.
Dynamite.
He'll win the fight.
Now, at the end of this show, we're going to sing happy birthday to Kevin. I did not expect Kevin to get here this soon. But anyway, the standings as of right now, we're going to go to the American League. I was just mentioning this earlier. The Yankees are now 6 games back of the Toronto Blue Jays for first place in the AL East. And the Blue Jays have the best record in baseball, which is surprising, which is to say the least. Boston's in third. The Tampa Bay Rays are in fourth, and the Orioles are in last, but they are climbing. The Tigers had a 12.5 game lead in the AL Central. It's still at 8 games, but they're time on the decline right now. The Guardians are in second. The Royals are in third. The Minnesota Twins are in fourth. And then the White Sox are just sitting there pretty at the bottom in last place in that division. And then in the American League, like I mentioned, the Astros are in first place up by 5 games over the Mariners, who are in second. The Rangers are in third. The Angels are in fourth, although they've kind of fallen off since they were above 500. And the Oakland A's are just sitting there at 44 and 62 in last place. So I'm going to come to Kevin, the birthday boy here. So when it comes to these division races, I know they all look kind of out of reach for a lot of these teams. But do you think anyone from the AL East, Central, or West can make things interesting?
It's very interesting. I mean, like, we know the recent struggles with the Yankees right now. I mean, like, they're still in the midst of acquiring more pieces at the deadline. They're like Cashman said, he's trying to get a starter, a couple of relief pitchers. He's already DFA'd a couple of like the bad ones. Like, just DFA'd Scott Frost yesterday. He DFA'd Alan Winans just after today's game. And they need a lot of help, especially if Aaron Judge is going to miss some time. Luckily, it wasn't the worst case scenario. So his UCL is still intact, thank goodness. And I also saw that we're not going to be calling Spencer Jones up. Don't know why. I get that he has like back spasms right now, but you can't be using that as an excuse. Like, you need to call his kid up now before like he really like starts to ramp up those injuries. Like, you don't want that. I mean, you should be calling him up like a week ago. And I fear that the Yankees are going to like call up maybe like Everson Pereira instead. And like, Everson Pereira is good in the minors, but in the majors, he's just not proven that he's like can hit at the major league level. As far as the other what's it called divisions go, Guardians. I mean, they're 1 game below 500 right now. I see that as like a really non-competitive division, at least like for like the Tigers' sake. Even though they're struggling right now, they still have an 8-game lead in that division. It's just they're kind of going through like a massive slump, like kind of like how the Yankees did, even the Dodgers to an extent.
Right.
The Mariners look interesting. Like, they just got Josh Naylor. They could be on the rise to get Eugenio Suarez back in there. And they're only 5 games behind the Astros. Now, the Astros right now, like you just saw last night, they gave up 4 homers to Nick Kurtz, who had one of the greatest games you'll ever see for baseball. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Mariners, if they can get that offense going, if they do end up getting both Naylor and Suarez, you might see the Mariners really test the Astros for first in that division, because the Astros, I believe, they have the most people on their injured list. I think they just added another guy the other day, so I think it's like 18 players I think they have right now that are on the IL. So, and there's still 5 games for first in that division, so it just shows you that they're able to make things work even when most of their guys are injured. Now, like I said, if the Mariners' offense can get up and be bolstered with the acquisitions of Naylor and possibly Suarez, then I can easily see the Mariners contesting the Astros for the AL West.
Interesting. It's an interesting case. I want to briefly talk about Nick Kurtz because he was the first rookie in Major League Baseball history to have a 4 home run game, which I think is absolutely outstanding. And this is for, I think, the Oakland A's or the Sacramento A's.
Yes.
The Sacramento A's, as we call them now, which are a team that are out of contention, really. I mean, they're a nice team on paper, but they have good things happen to them this year. They're a fun team to watch. They're not bottom of the barrel like 2022, 2023. This team can actually compete. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we're seeing stuff like this happen to the A's is great. Now, when they get to Vegas in a couple of years, I can only imagine how that's going to look when this team finally has the hype and the funding around them and the fanfare.
We don't expect it to be Vegas Golden Knights level, but it's up there once they get to Vegas.
Absolutely. And like I said, like they say, in Vegas, everything is a gamble. Mm-hmm. So this is a big gamble. Now except for the National League. Go ahead.
I said except the food.
Exactly. The food is subpar at best. Anyway, now we're going to the National League divisions. The NL East is tied between the Mets and the Phillies. They're going tooth and nail for that division. The Brewers are up 1 game over the Cubs right now, and then the Dodgers are up 6 games over the Padres, who are in second. But behind the Phillies and Mets in the AL East are the Miami Marlins, who are in third solidly, which is impressive. The Braves are in fourth. The Washington Nationals, you might as well just pack it up. They're not really doing anything. And then behind the Cubs for second in the NL Central are the Reds, who, again, have not been swept in a series yet. Unbelievable. The St. Louis Cardinals are in fourth. They started off so strong, but they've kind of fallen apart a little bit. And then the Pirates, I'm sorry, Alec, they're sellers at the deadline. And the fact that you brought up that O'Neal Cruz might be on the trade block is actually kind of surprising.
Yeah, I did not expect that one at all for O'Neal Cruz because I thought it was going to be a core piece to the puzzle, but some things are stranger than fiction. Just like with the Cardinals, they're kind of falling up. And you mentioned about the Reds, that for as average as they are as a team, it's surprising that they have not been swept ever this year.
Yeah, the only team to not be swept so far this season. This deep. I can't remember the last time a team was not swept in a regular season. I got to do my research on that. I'll probably have an answer to that question to next week when we do the show. But I just find that amazing. And they're kind of in the thick of things for the wild card. I mean, right now they're 1 game back of San Diego, which is not bad at all. So the Reds, if they keep playing competitively in series, they might pass the Padres, which is actually kind of amazing. And then the NL West, the Padres are in second, as mentioned. The Giants are interesting. They're 7 games back of the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Diamondbacks have proven they're sellers, and then the Rockies, don't even get me started.
I'm not even going to go with the Rockies for one bit, but even so, between the Padres and Giants, things are looking kind of interesting. The Padres, even though they're always a team to be looked out for, I feel this year they've been painfully meh. This year, the Giants, they intrigued me ever since the Devers trade, and even before the Devers trade. I wonder if they're going to turn things around because ever since they got Devers, things have been on the downturn for them.
Yeah,
because I thought that they would get the cream of the crop when they got Devers, but strangely that hasn't happened. And I'm like, what? Well, at least Willie Adames is turning it around, which is
nice. That's the shocking part of it all.
Mm-hmm.
They get Devers. He changes positions, which he said he was willing to do, and the Giants are on a slump. So that, to me, is the most surprising aspect of it all.
How does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense. So, John, when you look at all these divisions in the National League, what stands out to you the most?
Well, I think the West is interesting because we were talking and the Padres were both doing whatever they could to try to be able to keep up with the Dodgers, and that isn't playing out the way that either team is intended. So that's an interesting perspective. But I think the Midwest is going to be a little bit more competitive. Obviously, I think you've got the what we saw last year.
Right. That's interesting. The NL West we thought was going to be we all predicted the Dodgers would win the NL West. What we didn't predict was how much of a landslide this was going to be at this point in the year. That was the shocking part of it all.
And keep in mind, the Dodgers, they're right now leading the NL West with 11 players on their 60-day injured list, including Blake Snell.
That's actually the most surprising part of it all. Now we're going to go to the wild card race, which leads me into a certain point. So I'm going to go into the American League leaders. Like I mentioned before, the Blue Jays have the best record in baseball. How? I don't know. David Smith and Randy Correa are going crazy right now. They're going absolutely bananas right now. The Houston Astros are second in the American League. And then the Tigers, they fell off a cliff. They've lost a couple of games or several games over the last 10 or 11. They're now third in the American League, and they'd be in a wild card situation. And then you look at the wild card. The Yankees have the top wild card spot, although I don't know how long that's going to last. The Mariners are in second, and then the Red Sox are only a half game into the third wild card spot, a half game ahead of the Texas Rangers. And then Tampa's a game and a half back. The Cleveland Guardians are 3 games back, and then downward on. So, Kevin, when it comes to this, what do you think any team on the outside looking in can challenge Boston? Do you think Boston can be a contender or a pretender? Like, how do you see this American League wildcard playing out?
Well, I think, you go back to the Yankees. They're only a game and a half for the first wild card spot. And with the way they're downward spiraling right now, and with the uncertainty of how much time Aaron Judge is going to miss, and also the uncertainty with what they're going to do before the deadline ends, like, if they don't start winning, like, at most, they're going to be back 11 and a half games behind the Blue Jays in the AL East. And it themselves out of a wild card. So you got to keep that in mind. If it holds, like, I see the Mariners definitely getting the second or third wild card spot. Rangers are a bit interesting because they're 8-2 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game win streak right now, which is one of the best in baseball. And if they have the offense and the pitching capabilities to get that final wild card spot. Again, it's going to really depend on how well Boston performs against good teams. Because right after the All-Star break ended, they started this second half against the Phillies and against the Dodgers. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Phillies, almost were swept by the Phillies, and they lost last night against the Dodgers, and they're playing the Dodgers for the next 2 games. So they need to start winning against good teams. Now, I know they had that 10-game winning streak, but when you look at that winning streak, who did they beat? They beat the Nationals, the Rockies, and the Rays in those 10-game winning streak.
Right.
Not really. Against good teams, Boston isn't the best when it comes to facing teams above 500. Now, with the Rays, that's also interesting as well because their pitching staff is good and streaky at times, and their offense knows how to win ball games. So I can definitely see them fighting for that final wild card spot. But again, I have to go back to the Yankees. It's really going to depend on if they continue to go in a downward spiral, then who is going to reclaim that first wild card spot? Is it Seattle? Is it Boston? Is it the Rangers? Like, it really depends on like how well or bad the Yankees perform. Because right now they have it locked down at the moment. But if the way that things continue to go from now on, if they continue to lose like this and not make meaningful moves and Judge not being there, then I see the Yankees not even making the wild card at this point. So I see Seattle, Boston, Rangers, and even Tampa Bay contending for the wild card spots because right now you have to convince me really hard right now that the Yankees are truly still postseason caliber right now because right now they just aren't.
They haven't proven anything to me. And when you watched Ryan McMahon's debut today, and I was at the game, so I can tell you, he looked off. Like, there's a reason why he led the National League in strikeouts before he get traded to the Yankees. I see it now. He swings at every pitch. He's hungry for the home run ball, and I guess it just came into play on his debut in pinstripes. It didn't work out. So I'm already iffy about the Ryan McMahon acquisition. I know that we were in on Eugenio Suarez, but like you said once before, I think the Diamondbacks wanted Spencer Jones so badly.
Yeah.
And I think they wanted to try and fleece the Yankees as much as they could to get Spencer Jones off their hands.
Listen,
one thing you mentioned, yes.
I give Brian Crashman a lot of crap on this show, but the one thing I'll agree on him is that, yes, you don't trade Spencer Jones for a rental for Eugenio Suarez. You trade him for a superstar proven player with control, and that should be the only scenario where you'd ever trade him.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned that Eugenio Suarez has a -6 OOA. And for those who don't know what OOA is, please explain what that is.
So OOA is outs above average. So it's basically like how many outs did you get above like the average for your position. So, for example, one of the targets that the Yankees were also looking at for third base options was Ke'Bryan Hayes. Now, Ke'Bryan Hayes, he's like top 5 when it comes to outs above average. So his defense is elite. It's up there. The problem is his bat is not good. Like he's I think like just over 200 and with like an OPS of like sub 600. So not a good bat. You look at McMahon, his outs above average, I believe is like 4. So it's above average. But you also look at, again, the bat is not good. It's 217, I think, even after tonight's game and his debut. Now, the one good thing I will say that McMahon did in his debut was he flashed leather at third base. He made a play when the ball was hit in near left field, got it out, and then made a dime of a throw to first to Goldschmidt to get the out. That's what
He
you
did.
want defensive wise. So on paper, defensive wise, McMahon is the perfect guy there. Would it have been different if Suarez was there? Could Suarez have made a play like that? We'll never know. But in terms of defense, McMahon looks fine. Again, offensively, it might take him some time, but like at the moment, the defense is what you like out of him.
Yeah, and I think that's why they wanted to make the change at third base anyway. Like, you weren't going to get Eugenio Suarez, but you know what? You got a better defensive third baseman.
Yeah.
And watching Oswald Peraza and Yorbit Vivas makes me lose hair playing third base defensively. It really does, because all the throwing errors, the miscues they've made, it boggles my mind that they even got through this much of the season with those two men holding third base down. But this is also why losing Oswaldo Cabrera sucked so bad, because then we resorted to this.
Yeah, losing Waldo, man, was such a bigger loss than we could have ever imagined. Like, he's a guy, he's a switch hitter, and like just like Dominguez, he's better from his left side. He hits for contact and has some pop. He's got some speed. His defense is great. He's the Swiss Army knife for the team. You could put him anywhere. You could put him in outfield. You could put him at second base, shortstop, third base, except for first base. But like, he's the guy you can always rely on off the bench, or if you need if one guy goes down in the infield, you can easily slot him in there. Remember, he was our starting left fielder at one point, like a few years ago. So like, when you lose a guy like that, especially when third base is such an issue, it becomes a major problem. And like, I'll be honest, if he was never hurt this season, we probably wouldn't have even went and searched for a third baseman.
Yeah, I agree 100%, because that was a competent third baseman.
Yep.
And like you said, he could do a little bit of everything. And now we don't have that. So that's the biggest problem the Yankees face. And we had that hole at third base ever since he got hurt. And now we're trying to repair that some way, somehow. Major League Baseball is getting into the nitty-gritty. But before we actually end Major League Baseball, I want to get into the National League aspect of the wild card. So the Cubs and Brewers are in like a tug of war for best record in the National League. Whoever wins that division is going to get the number one seed unless someone collapses. But for now, Willie Schumacher is loving life right now because the Brewers are in first place in the National League. The Dodgers are a half game behind. The Mets and Phillies are just scratching and clawing each other for that NL East, which would be in the third seed. And then the wild cards, the Cubs, the Phillies, and the Padres. Behind the Padres by a game are the Reds. The Giants and the Cardinals are a game or game and a half back. And then you go downward from Arizona down there. So that's what the situation is. So I want to come to Alec next. So between Cincinnati, San Francisco, or St. Louis, who could make things interesting for the Padres?
I feel San Francisco could be in that position to make things interesting if all things go correct. Now, Cincinnati is on the rise, though how long they can keep this up is to be determined, because their pitching is average. Of course, they have Ellie De La Cruz and pieces around him to build around him. Tyler Stevenson, TJ Friedl, of course, they come to mind in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. But how this plays out is TBD, even with Terry Francona as your manager. San Francisco is a very interesting case because you get Devers. It's the type of trade that can put a team over the top. But in their first 31 games with him, they were just 13-18 with the 6th lowest OPS in baseball.
Wow.
Though Adames has turned the season around, but everyone else around Adames slumped. Devers, Matt Chapman, Jung-Hoo Lee, Elliot Ramos, Mike Yastrzemski, and they could make additional lineup changes, but they already made their big move. Now, I wonder how they could go. Do you go and add at the deadline, or is it par for the course? But you already made your big move. You're going to have to make some minor tweaks here, some minor trades that can be under the radar, sneaky additions that can help you.
Yeah, sometimes the little things can make a big difference. The Giants were solidly in the wild card, not too long ago. But it seems like to me the Cubs and Phillies, whether they win the division or lose the division, they're going to be in no matter what at this point.
Yeah.
It's the Padres that you're kind of concerned about because The Reds exist. The Giants exist. The Cardinals, no one's been paying attention to how good St. Louis has been this year.
I mean, they've been a very solid under-the-radar team with Brendan Donovan, Lars Newtmar. Everyone's been chiming in for St. Louis. They are a great defensive team. Their bullpen's excellent. My only concern with the Cardinals is their rotation, because at least 2 of their pitchers god-awful. I'm specifically talking about Eric Fetty and Miles McCullough. Eesh.
Yeah, bad. Pretty bad pitching. But and that's the thing, though, because in the playoffs, you need pitching to go far in the playoffs.
Yes.
It's been said time and time again. Timely hitting is important, but pitching is number one in the playoffs.
Yes. That is alpha and omega of playoff conversation. Last year, the Dodgers did it with a ragtag group, but they made it work. The year before, the Rangers did it with a solid pitching core that they all came together. And then you have the Astros, who are solid as ever pitching-wise with Verlander, Valdez, Javier. You need pitching to thrive in the playoffs. That's why you have teams like the Phillies, Blue Jays that are best equipped. Maybe the Mariners, who are best equipped for playoffs.
It's going to be interesting how Major League Baseball pans out for the rest of the year. Now we're going to go into the NFL because we have some juicy storylines coming out of the NFL. I want to start off with a quick one. Tyrann Mathieu and Jimmy Graham both retiring before the season even begins. Saints fans, God bless you. Seriously, because your number one tight end who is past his prime. Yes, John?
Oh, I was just doing the sign of the cross.
Sign of the cross.
Yeah,
Seriously. Yeah. And then the honey badger basically just wanted to go into his hole and hibernate. It's been pretty much like that. That's how things have been for the Saints. Like Tyrann Mathieu signed a 2-year contract last year, and now he's basically calling it 1 year short because the Saints are really going nowhere. And I can only imagine Alvin Kamara might be on his way out the door. I said it last week because there's not much going on. I mean, Chris Olave gets hurt all the time. Cameron Jordan's probably sick of being there. The offensive line's a sieve. Tyler Shuck, I mean, I want to see what he can do, but this kind of situation is just god-awful for all Saints players.
Is Michael Thomas still there?
No, he's out of there. But for our Saints fans listening to this, we're praying for you.
Seriously.
Because this season, he could just throw out the window before it even started. You know what? Where's my hammer?
My God.
I'm going to call it now. New Orleans Saints first overall pick in the 2026 draft. Putting fries on the sandwich, guaranteed.
Oh my God!
You know what?
You're probably not far off. Far off.
I was literally thinking that the same exact thing. I'm like, if I'm the Saints, just tank for the number 1 pick, just like the Giants almost did.
Get Arch Manning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, what else could go wrong? Well, he's about to come to your hometown team.
Yeah. And keep in mind, his father played for the New Orleans Saints. Archie Manning played for the Saints in 1971 to 1980. And also, I think we might see a revival, and John might know what I'm talking about here, of the Aints.
Oh, dear Lord. That time before Drew Brees came to New Orleans was literal hell for the Saints. Literal hell. Well, if you're Jimmy Graham, at least you're living life now, because Jimmy Graham recently just sailed all across the Arctic Ocean.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Good for him. Next up, we're going to go to the Indianapolis Colts training camp outlook. Daniel Jones is beginning some quarterback 1 reps. There's been some serious questions about Anthony Richardson and whether or not he's still capable of being the starting quarterback for the Colts. John, I know I've talked to you about this a couple of times. Do you think that this quarterback competition in Indianapolis is going to go in the favor of Jones or Anthony Richardson? And if it is Jones, what does this mean for Anthony Richardson in the future?
Shane Steichen had some compliments to say about Anthony Richardson today during training camp. In the long run, if you want a winning season, I think you're better off starting Daniel Jones.
Yeah. And I think this all started with Anthony Richardson when he asked for a break mid-game last year. I forget who it was, but all I remember was Anthony Richardson got winded after a really amazing run, and he called Shane Steichen and said, "I need a break," and then Shane Steichen gave him a break. He benched him for 3 games.
He tapped him. He tapped his. Yeah, he called himself out of the game.
Yeah, and that's not what you do in a game like football. It's not. It's the like you never ever quit, and that's what Anthony Richardson did. He took himself out, and when you take yourself out of an NFL game, you're going to be replaced. And if you think teams are going to be sympathetic, no, they're not.
Mm-mm.
And it's a shame because I saw a lot of athletic potential in this kid, but he hasn't really proven himself the last few years.
I would not be surprised if the Colts draft a quarterback next year.
He can throw the long ball, but the short ball is a problem for him.
There's a lot of really, really good quarterbacks in next year's class.
Yeah. We made fun of this past year's class, saying, "Oh, the class wasn't as deep as 2024." Next year's class is going to be much better than this year's class. This year's class was at best. Next year's class is going to be great. Next up, we have the hold in, hold out scenario. I want to amend that list a little bit because Shamar Stewart finally got his contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. It was a 4-year, $18.97 million contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. And before we even came on, John sent a picture of Trey Hendrickson's story on, I think it was Instagram, of him being in Florida. And that could either be a cryptic message or it could be a storyline that we might follow, that maybe a team from Florida, a la the Bucs, Dolphins, or Jaguars, might want him. I want to come to John on this one. If Trey Hendrickson does not get signed, and let's just say for all intents and purposes, Mike Brown gives up on him, where does he end up?
Oh, there's a couple people that want him. I could see him ending up here on the Seahawks.
Really?
He's been rumored to come up here and be on the defensive line for the Seahawks. I've also heard him going to the Patriots. And now with the Christian Wilkinson issue, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders are interested too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And now we're gonna get to the hold in, hold out list. Jawan Jennings, Terry McLaurin, Trey Henderson, and Micah Parsons are the main names out there in the hold in, hold out category. Jawan Jennings is probably going to be one of the top receivers that the Niners have. Terry McLaurin is looking for that extension to his contract. Trey Henderson, we know his situation. Micah Parsons, John mentioned, is looking for about $45 million a year in an extension. Kevin, I want to come to you. Which hold in, hold out situation is the most interesting to you?
I mean, in terms of interesting, it's definitely Micah Parsons, if you ask me, because if it were me, like I would have extended him like already, like a few weeks, like even like a month ago, because I find it baffling that a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who are the most profitable and valuable franchise in the National Football League, can't extend a guy with the caliber of Micah Parsons, and he's your defensive star. And like you talk about him, Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb. Those are the 3 players that you think about when you think about the Dallas Cowboys. And if you don't sign a guy like Micah Parsons because Jerry Jones didn't want to sign him because he was like injury prone for 6 games last year, when technically it was only 4 games. So he got that part wrong. And like I find it ludicrous that Jerry Jones, like being the owner that he is so out of touch with like trying to sign players and extend them. He did the same thing with even Dak Prescott before he got that big mega contract. And now you refuse it. Keep in mind, this is the same guy that refused to go out and get a guy like Derrick Henry to fix the running back problems.
Yep.
He didn't think that his style of play would fit their system. Like, are you kidding me? Like that is next level, like delusion right there. And like if you don't re-sign Michael Parsons soon, he might just say he wants to request a trade and be added there, and then be like another Trey Hendrickson situation, and like hold out even longer. Like you're just prolonging something that shouldn't be happening. Like that's a Jerry Jones issue right there. That's poor ownership and like bad management with the money when money should not be an issue for the Dallas Cowboys. So Michael Parsons, I'm glad he's holding out, and I hope he requests a trade soon because he doesn't deserve this.
No, he doesn't. And I've watched Jerry Jones in his last several press conferences. He's 81 years old. He's losing it. He is losing it because some of the things he's saying doesn't even make sense anymore.
Mm-mm.
And he's lost his savviness.
He's lost it. And I think, honestly, he might regret the day he fired Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
He might regret that because I know that Jimmy Johnson wasn't going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys forever, but at the same time, you could have won more Super Bowls with him. And then you bring in Barry Switzer, you get one with Jimmy's team. And then ever since then, he's missed the knife on every single coaching hire.
Jerry Jones still thinks it's 1995. Newsflash, we're 30 years past that. So you have to think of living in the present now, not the past, and start actually doing something.
And over those last 30 years, the Dallas Cowboys haven't even made it to an NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Jones's problem was he believed that he could do it without Jimmy Johnson, and he hasn't done it since.
No, he hasn't. He's gotten it wrong for the last 30 years.
Yeah, and even it's upsetting former and current NFL players. His own teammate CeeDee Lamb is upset because it was in the situation year before with his contract extension. And among former players, J.J. Watt and Richard Sherman are upset. And everyone who is upset about this has every right to be. Pay the man. Seriously.
Acknowledge your best player and pay him. Next up, we have Jared Goff looking not as flashy under new offensive coordinator John Morton. As many of you know, Ben Johnson is now in Chicago as the head coach of the Bears. And then we also know Aaron Glenn is now the new head coach of the New York Jets, but he's the defensive coordinator. When we look at Jared Goff last year, the Lions were a 15-2 team. Having said that, Goff was not the main. Well, I guess Goff was a big part of why the offense was so good, but it was mainly the running game with Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs was the main thing that kept them going. The defense struggled mightily with injuries, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown and even the other receivers on that receiving core did everything they could to make Jared Goff look good. But now that John Morton is the new OC in town, things haven't been looking good in training camp. And I think Lions fans should be a little bit concerned because Ben Johnson helped spark Dan Campbell's vision. But now I'm going to come to Alec here. With John Morton as the OC, do you think Jared Goff takes a step backwards with his stats?
I still have faith that the Lions offense can still function the way it is. Some of the adjustments are subtle, as shown in formation shifts, motions, routes, run plays, protections, and chances. Thing is, though, that you keep all the offensive skill position players, but you lose two guys on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow to retirement, Kevin Zeitler to free agency. And you're replacing Ragnow with Tate Ratledge, who was your draft choice in the second round out of the University of Georgia. He has big shoes to fill at center because he is replacing one of the league's best at the center position. Not only that, but you're getting another guy over at one of the guard positions right next to Ratledge. And even though the blind sides of Penny Sewell and Taylor Decker are still intact, I wonder how good the interior offensive line is going to be. It's also going to come down to Goff and if he can lead the Lions to the promised land. Remember, he's still on that $53 million per year contract. So it comes down to him. If he thrives, all right, good. If he falters, then less need is justified on why he traded for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I think that's very rational to believe. I mean, so far, Jared Goff has been good, but he hasn't really stood out as the main reason why the Lions are so good offensively, in my opinion.
That's where I'm also at.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Jared Goff. I know Lion fans love him, and I know that they've beaten the Rams a couple of times with Stafford on the opposite side. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is your guy for the future. And if anything, I think the honeymoon phase of Jared Goff starting to fade just a little bit. So we'll have to see how he looks this year with John Morton. Next up, and this is something that John mentioned, Christian Wilkins was released by the Las Vegas Raiders after being guaranteed $60 million by the team. John, please elaborate on what's going on.
So Christian Wilkins played, I think, 6 games with the Raiders in the 2024 season. Hurt his foot, had season-ending foot surgery. Showed up to training camp this year, and his foot was still hurt. The Raiders asked him and told him and begged him to have another surgery, and he refused to do so. So basically, that created a really, really interesting issue between him and the new coaching regime that Vegas has with Pete Carroll and the like. And they decided that it would be easier and cheaper to pay him what they could and release him into the wild, so to speak. So there's going to be some litigation with the Players Association. He's already filed a complaint because the Raiders, I think, voided $36 million, but basically almost half of his guaranteed money. So there's going to be some union issues over how much the Raiders actually end up paying him. And I've already heard people sniffing around like the Patriots are interested in signing him, even with knowing that he probably won't play at least the first 2/3 of the season.
Interesting, because I think the Patriots would be a good team to pick up Christian Wilkins, because one thing that we talked about before on this show, I think last week, we talked about how much potential the Patriots have to maybe be a playoff team, to have a good defense, especially now with Mike Vrabel as your new head coach, who's a defensive-minded guy. And the Patriots defense last year was horrible under Jerod Mayo, but it seemed like personnel-wise, they're changing. If Christian Wilkins were to go to New England, that'd be cool. But the whole Raider thing, I mean, this is just something that we see all the time with players who go to the Raiders. They have some type of complaint. Like, obviously, with the Antonio Brown with the helmet, the Raiders didn't give him the helmet that he wanted, but that's just a different issue and a different type of player. This is something that is kind of despicable in my eyes. Alec, I know I can see your face right there. What do you think?
I'll say that the more I read onto the news, the less surprised I am about this messy breakup, because our return to the field was uncertain in the wake of a possible surgery. If the injury was that serious, you get the surgery, in my opinion. But he refused to have it with the way that he rehabbed his injury and that. So he's released under the designation of terminated vested veteran. Now, what is the language of terminated vested veteran? In Article 30, Section 3A of the NFL CBA, it states, an otherwise qualified player will not be entitled to termination pay under this article if the club can demonstrate that after receipt of a written warning from his club in the form attached hereto as Appendix 1, the player failed to exhibit the level of good faith effort which can be reasonably expected from NFL players on that club. So we're not sure at what point Wilkins is going to return, but we don't imagine that he's going to play the first 2/3 of this upcoming season should a team sign him, because it's going to carry that injury risk and the wake of that possible surgery. But I would encourage him that he would get that surgery for his Jones fracture that he suffered on his foot. And it's a bummer that it all turned out this way, because out of a possible 68 games that he could have played on his 4-year deal, he played just 5.
5?
Yeah.
Wow. That's 7.5% of the total games you're supposed to play under your contract.
This is a bummer, because they had the vision of pairing him with Max Crosby on the defensive line, and the dream was a mirage.
Yeah, it's in shambles. It was in shambles. It was dashed. It's ultimately that what could have been thing in Las Vegas.
That D line was built to go after Mahomes, I guarantee you.
It was. It really was.
Between him, Crosby, and Malcolm Kuntz, who's been emerging into a stud at Vegas.
And I can only imagine that defensive front would have been intimidating to Mahomes. It really would have been, because you look at how Max Crosby intimidates him, and they get in fights a lot with Mahomes. So it would have been interesting to see what Wilkins could have done, but unfortunately that wouldn't happen. That can't happen anymore.
The other really interesting thing the Raiders have done this week was they signed Jamal Adams, and Pete Carroll is going to make him inside linebacker.
Interesting. So he converted to linebacker after playing safety for most of his career.
Right.
Wow. That's cool. Next up, we have a story, and actually, Kevin, I got to get to Kevin's perspective on this. I wish this was fresh, fine, or fried, but hundreds of players and even dozens of Super Bowl employees were fined for selling Super Bowl tickets over face value for Super Bowl 59. When I shared this story with Kev was the first to be like, "How stupid can you be?" And I can only look at Kevin's face. That just tells you everything you need to know. Kevin, I know you have something you want to get off your chest about this. Lay it on me.
I mean, you said it. Like, this is foolishness and complete idiocy from whenever I saw this news broke. How can you be so stupid as a player, no less? Even some crew members I saw, like a dozen or something crew members that did that too. How dumb! I can understand, like, maybe from the crew members' perspective, but like if you're a player, you are making millions and millions of dollars already playing the game of football. Why are you being a scammer scalper to try to sell Super Bowl tickets? You are a complete moron. It baffles my mind. It's unacceptable. Listen, I get that like people want to go to the Super Bowl because it's the biggest sporting event like ever, and right. I get, but like if it's not through like promotions or anything like that, if you're straight up just selling them over face value, that's very scummy. That's scalping. That's a definition of scalping. Like, I know this has no correlation to it, but like you look at like what scalpers are, that's exactly what they are. They sell things, they quickly buy them in bulk and then sell them over face value. Like, if any of you like play like games or anything, when the PlayStation 5 first came out in 2020, there were a ton of scalpers that bought all the PS5s, like,
really
sold them out and sold them, I think, like $500 or like $1,000 over like sale value. So like this is like on the first same kind of issue like that, except it's for Super Bowl tickets. Like, you can't be doing that, especially if you're a player. Like, that's unacceptable to me.
It's disgusting. I know you're trying to make a buck, but come on, you're making a lot of money but just by playing in the game.
That's what I'm saying. What do you need to do that for? And scam people out of their money? And like, Super Bowl tickets are already expensive as is, especially if season tickets are even expensive as is, depending on what type of team that you want to be a fan of. Like, that's insane. And plus, you're not even factoring in the fact like the parking fees, the cassette, all that factored into it. Just the tickets alone, like, it's going to cost you like over $1,000 easy. Plus all those other things you got to take care of. Like, that's abysmally bad.
Unbelievable. That's nickel and diming at the highest order.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even need that. So, anyway, the next story I want to get into is that NFL teams have combined to make really $23 billion, but NFL teams have managed to make $13.8 billion off of the 2024 season. How do we know about this? Because the Green Bay Packers reported that they made $432.6 million in 2024, which is average compared to what the other 31 teams made this season. Now, John was the first person who reported this, and the reason why the Packers verified how much they made was because the Packers don't have a definitive owner. Their owner is the fans. So, John, I want to come to you. This financial backing that the NFL has gotten last year, do you think that will grow financially this year, or do you think it will decline?
Well, that number was a record, and it was a publicly disclosed revenue share number, and it needs to be clarified on that because each team, each franchise makes its own money based off of ticket sales and merchandise, and that doesn't include the revenue share. So the
Wow.
revenue share, everybody pulls everything together, and then it gets just broken up evenly. So that's kind of how that worked out, which is where those two numbers came from. I heard Arthur Blank say today at training camp that the NFL's goal is for every single team, all 32 teams, to have at least one international game every season. I don't
Really?
know. Yeah, I don't know when that's going to happen. It's just kind of just a matter of time. They're also in the process of expanding the league and having a division in Europe. And I don't know if that's two UK teams, a German team, and a Mexican team, or how that's going to work. But they wanted an NFL division in Europe. So I think that number is only going to grow based on that information alone.
Interesting.
Alex, do you have a comment on that? Because Kevin and I are kind of just like thinking to ourselves, is that really a thing? Is that even possible? I mean, move the Jacksonville Jaguars to London because they play in London every year, it seems. But I want to get your perspective on this, Alex. Do you think that's even possible? Do you think that's going to be a challenge for the NFL to create an international division, if you will?
If we're talking international divisions, then and if we're looking at teams that from outside this country that could realistically be created, you could be looking somewhere around Canada because the NHL, NBA, and MLB already have teams in Canada for those. Even the MLS, they have teams in Canada, but realistically, I think 32 teams is enough as is in terms of international games. And if you look at the number of international games, there's already Brazil. You already have the UK. Germany's already there. Spain is there. Soon enough, you could be thinking along the lines of France. Maybe bring back Mexico for international games over there. Perhaps bring back the Bills Toronto series because the Buffalo Bills used to play international games over at Toronto.
Yeah.
But in terms of that, if are we seriously going to think about having more jet lag for the players? Well, if you're wanting to grow the game around, then perhaps international games could be thought about over at Europe, you'd be thinking about South America at Brazil because that's already in consideration. Maybe could you do Portugal or Italy for that matter? I don't know. There are endless possibilities here. I'm not exactly encouraging it, but there are some thoughts out there on my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, and I think the NFL is going to have to strategically think about what they're going to do about this. Now, we're coming to the bottom of the hour, so before we actually start off hour two, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, DAS Technology Consulting, that is owned by my father, Darren Sirianni. And if you want to know a little bit more about DAS Technology Consulting, here's a preview of what you can expect.
Our approach at DAS Technology is simple. At DAS Technology, we offer a very unique approach by providing our clients a single point of contact for all their mission-critical data center demands. DAS Technology Consulting is a global leader in data center services specializing in delivering cutting-edge, best-of-breed enterprise solutions. With a focus on innovation and reliability, DAS provides worldwide storage, server, and networking solutions that are tailored to meet the evolving demands of the modern data-driven world.
And DAS Technology Consulting continues to evolve with the ever-changing atmosphere of the IT technology industry. Again, thank you, DAS Technology Consulting, for sponsoring Four Sqaure Sports. We look forward to our partnership for months and weeks to come. With that, we go into hour number two of Four Sqaure Sports. We had a little bit of delay of getting all four of us in here, but again, Matt Sirianni, Kevin Zelos-Kovacs, the birthday boy, John Welch, and Alec Nava here. Jersey, Texas, Washington, North Carolina, all present in the moment. But we're going to get into hour 2 because we do want to bring back NFL trivia. We're also going to bring back division predictions only for the AFC this time. We are also going to go into our conference champion predictions because college football is on the horizon. We're going to get into Fresh Fond or Fried. Alec is on the hot seat, so that's going to be fun. And then we're going to be unveiling our Four Sqaure Fantasy team names and unveiling who is participating in this league in 2025. It's going to be an 18 league this year. I've asked as many people as I can, and we've only gotten 8 people. So, hey, 8 is better than none. 8 is great, but you know what? It's fine. So, we're going to get into NFL trivia. I wish I had trivia music for this. But, let me find the NFL trivia tab. There it is. Okay, so we have 9 trivia questions. It's going to be 8 multiple choice questions and 1 true false. If you don't, I think you don't want the true false question. But I'm going to ask it's going to go in rotation. So it's going to be Kevin first, then Alec, then John. And that's how the questions are going to go. So we're going to start off with Kevin here with the first trivia question. Keep in mind of the theme. How many rushing yards did Adrian Peterson fall short of breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record in 2012? A7, B8, C9, D10.
I feel like I should know this because I love Adrian Peterson. 7, 8, 9, 10. Jeez. I don't think it's 10. So I'm going to process that out. I think it's 7 or 8. I'm going to say 7.
It's 9.
I knew it wasn't 10. I just didn't know.
Adrian Peterson
like
had 2,097 rushing yards. Eric Dickerson had 2,105 back in 1984. You do the math, 2,097 plus 9, it would be 2,106, which would have broken the record. So, good start.
You know, I don't feel too bad missing that one because I knew it wasn't 10 right off the bat. Now, if it was 10, I would have felt kind of bad.
Okay. Next up is John. Who holds the Super Bowl single game rushing record? A. Franco Harris. B. Timmy Smith. C. Larry Sonka. D. Marcus Allen.
Marcus Allen.
You're incorrect. It's Timmy Smith. Timmy Smith in Super Bowl 22 had 206 rushing yards. That was the Super Bowl where Doug Williams threw 5 touchdowns in a single game, but Timmy Smith was the unsung hero. He ran for over 200 yards, the greatest single game rushing performance in Super Bowl history. Marcus Allen was second. He had 191, which also featured that iconic run where he reversed course, ran backwards, and then dashed up the middle for a touchdown in Super Bowl 18, but that was not the answer. All right, Alec, you're up next. What NFL franchise has the most rushing yards in NFL history? Is it A, the Green Bay Packers, B, the Chicago Bears, C, the Arizona Cardinals, or D, the Detroit Lions?
The funny thing is that if I was answering the question that John had, I would have answered Marcus Allen too. Oh. See, between the Packers, Bears, Cardinals, and Lions. Let's see here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Chicago Bears.
Ding, ding, ding. You're correct. The Chicago Bears also were, Chicago Bears being around the longest, they've had amazing running backs over the course of their history, like Gale Sayers, Walter Payton, Willie Gallimore, to name a few. And the Bears have churned running back after running back after running back, and it all led to them being the greatest rushing team in NFL history. Now, the Lions are not even close to being on there. I thought, just to try to stir you up, the Cowboys are actually in the top 4 with guys like Tony Dorsett and Emmitt Smith up there. So, congratulations, I'll get the first question right. All right.
I think the Lions were in there because Barry Sanders.
And Billy Sims, to an extent, although Billy Sims had a very short NFL career. Okay. Back to Kevin. All right. How many players in NFL history have 1,000+ rushing yards in the postseason? Is it A, 5, B, 6, C, 7, D, 8?
7.
Correct. 7.
Let's go.
That
Got
is
one.
100% on the money. Oh, my God. That's actually really cool. So I'm going to list the players. So I can name a couple of them off my head. Franco Harris is one. Emmitt Smith's another. Thurman Thomas is up there as well. Tony Dorsett is up there. Marcus Allen, Terrell Davis, and for those who are playing in the NFL who are active, only one, Derrick Henry. Only 7 running backs in NFL history have 1,000+ postseason rushing yards. So Kevin's on the board now. Okay. John, this next question's for you. Who is third all-time on the NFL's rushing list? Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton are 1 and 2. Who is third? Is it A, Tony Dorsett, B, Frank Gore, C, Adrian Peterson, or D, Jim Brown?
Who was the first one?
Tony Dorsett.
AP.
You're incorrect. It's Frank Gore. Frank Gore has exactly 16,000 rushing yards, which ranks third in NFL history. Barry Sanders is fourth at 15,269. And then Adrian Peterson just cracks 12,000. He's not even in the top 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely would have get score there.
Okay. All right. Next question is for Alec. How many years did Jim Brown reign as the NFL's all-time rushing leader? A, 19, B, 20, C, 21, D, 22.
Oh my gosh. 21.
21, the key to fun. Yes, you got it.
Oh. I was hoping it would not become a meme with that answer.
21. But anyway.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I was hoping not to become a meme, yet I became a meme anyway.
All right,
Why
so,
you did this to me?
So Jim Brown was the NFL's all-time leading rusher from 1963 to 1983. While it spans 20 years, it counts in seasons 21 years. So Walter Payton broke the record in 84, and then Emmitt Smith broke the record in 2002. So Payton's reign lasted 18 years. Emmitt Smith's reign is still going. All right. Next question. Back to Kevin. Which running back has the lowest amount of rushing yards of those who ran for 2,000 yards or more? Is it A, Saquon Barkley, B, O.J. Simpson, C, Chris Johnson, or D, Terrell Davis?
What was the second one again?
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson. I feel like this is a trick question because Saquon Barkley is definitely the most recent. I just don't know if he had the least amount. I'm gonna pick Saquon Barkley.
You're incorrect. It is O.J. Simpson.
That was my first guess too because I didn't know.
So
that was my first guess.
So O.J. Simpson had 2,003 rushing yards. He did it in 14 games. That's the thing that people need to understand. So O.J. Simpson ran for 2,003 yards in 14 games, which is unbelievable to today's standards. Saquon Barkley had 2,005. Chris Johnson had 2,006 in 2009, and then Terrell Davis had 2008. Now, before we go further, Chris Johnson, what a name.
Mm-hmm.
That is the definition of a one-year wonder.
The Flash.
Seriously.
Fastest man on the field at his peak. Oh man.
Yes, sir. That man, I think if I'm correct, he has the most scrimmage yards in NFL history in a single season.
Yeah, I think he did. So this is a story of what could have been.
Seriously, it's what could have been. He had that one amazing season in his second year, and he just kind of faded after that. All right, John, back to you. Who held the single game rushing record before Adrian Peterson? Is it A, Marcus Allen, B, Jamal Lewis, C, John Riggins, or D, Jim Brown?
Marcus Allen.
It's actually Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis had 295 rushing yards against the Cleveland Browns in a game back in 2003. in a game where Jamal Lewis pregame said, I can break the single game rushing record against the Cleveland Browns, and he did it that very day, only for it to be broken 4 years later.
John did what I did the last time we did this. He heard two names of the same question, and he picked both of them for both questions.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be the last time either.
Damn you, Salazar.
Okay. Now here comes the true or false question. This is for Alec. True or false? O.J. Simpson is the only player in NFL history to run for 2,000 yards in a 14-game span. True or false?
True.
The answer is false. The answer is false. Now, you want to know who did it? 1997, Barry Sanders. Started off the 1997 season with 53 rushing yards in the first 2 games. He finished the season with 2,053. So in the final 14 games of the season, he ran for 2,000 yards.
That's nuts.
It's actually amazing that we see a 2,000-yard rusher in a 14-game season.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, I'm going to be transparent with all you. I wanted Saquon Barkley to break Eric Dickerson's record. I know Eric Dickerson came out and said, I wouldn't be comfortable if someone broke my record in a 17-game season and Barkley was taken out. Didn't play in the season finale this past year, which kind of sucked because I wanted to see the record broken. But again, Barkley is a man of integrity, and he's proven that over the course of his career. So I respect him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the modern quarterback era, they don't run the ball as much as they did in the late 90s and early 80s and 70s.
No, you're right on about that. Okay, now we are going to get into our AFC division predictions. We're going to start off with the AFC East. This is a division that has the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, and the New England Patriots. Now, how are we going to do this? We're going to rank our division teams from 1 to 4 as to who finishes where. We did this for the NFC last week. We're going to do it for the AFC this week. And we're going to go from east, then go up north, down south, and then head out west. That's how this will go. So, the AFC East, this actually, to me, was very easy to predict because the Buffalo Bills, I think, are easily the best team in that division. The Patriots, I think, can be a second-place team. I think that they have a lot of good players on that team. I think that they're in for a big surprise, especially with Mike Vrabel as the head coach, who's proven to be successful in the past. The Dolphins, for me, are in 3rd place, and I'm honestly scared for Tua Tagovailoa's health every passing year. I know, Sammy, I'm sorry. But I have the Dolphins in 3rd. I just don't think their roster is good enough. And then I have the Jets in last place. And this is an innocent till prove me guilty thing. So I have the Bills, then the Patriots, then the Dolphins, then the Jets. John?
Same as you, except my outlook for the Dolphins has gone into the drain. I have them at last place.
Really?
Losing Ramsey, losing their tight end, both going to the Steelers. I think that has major impacts. They had one of their key pieces on defense retire this year. And the players that they're bringing back just don't stack up. So they had a shaky defense with Jalen. Without him, I think it's worse. And I like what Justin Fields brings to the table for the Jets. I think the Jets are on the rise and the Dolphins are on the down.
Interesting. The Dolphins in last place, I wouldn't have predicted that. But
Bills, Patriots, Jets,
I kind of
Dolphins.
see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as John, actually. For the same reasons, like John mentioned, like with Dolphins losing all those players, and with Tua having those concussion concerns. Like, I'm sorry, but like you saw what happened last season. Like without Tua, that Dolphins team is not good. Like the backup quarterback options are just simply not as good as Tua is, especially with like losing guys on the defensive end. And also when you consider the fact that like with the Jets, now they have a new quarterback in Justin Fields. As long as he remains healthy, I could see them leapfrogging the Dolphins in the standings. But like you really have to convince me that the Dolphins are like gonna be third in that division, because for the same reasons. Like I just fear for like Tua's health. Like again, if he's healthy, maybe you'll see them at third. But at the moment, like I've just seen the same song and dance before, to where I think that the Jets could leapfrog them, but only by a small margin, maybe by like a half game or like a full game in the standings are concerns. So I would say Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, same as John.
Okay, fair. All right, Alec, what do you have?
I'm more in line with you, Matt. Though I feel the Dolphins and Jets are going to be closer, and I feel there's a realistic side of me thinking that the Dolphins and Jets can finish with the same exact record. Now, the only reason why the Dolphins are above the Jets is based on tiebreaker, based on those head-to-head matchups. The Dolphins are kind of on the downturn, while the Jets, they know what they're doing now with Aaron Glenn and a new foundation that they're establishing with that front office with Darren Mogi. They have locked up their core players with Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. So the foundation is set, and Glenn is demanding accountability. They're putting the disaster that was the Aaron Rodgers era behind them, and I feel I'm giving the respect for that, to at least acknowledging that the last era was a mistake. So I don't think the Jets will be higher than third on this list. And while another last place finish in the standings is going to sting, at least there are some positives here. The Patriots I can see as this year's version of last year's Commanders. And I'll say here's another prediction I'm going to make. There's going to be at least a 6-win improvement for the Patriots from last year to this year. They're going to win at least 10 games this year, regardless of what happens with Stephon Diggs. They know what they're doing. The foundation is set with Mike Vrabel. They brought back Josh McDaniels as offensive coordinator, which is an underrated pickup, which can allow Drake May to develop. The offensive line protection is established more and more with Garrett Bradbury at center. I'm happy that they focus on offensive line, not only in free agency, but the draft. They also gave him legitimate wide receiver help, not just with Diggs, regardless of what happens, and the defense is going to be an underrated focus of the Patriots. Look out for Christian Gonzalez. He's going to be their number one corner and one that is going to be feared in the division. I could argue that as of right now, he's the second best corner in the division behind the aforementioned Sauce Gardner. Buffalo is Buffalo, and as long as they have Josh Allen, they're going to be winning the division outright. There's no question with that. But this is a make or break year for Sean McDermott and company. The goal here is beat the Chiefs in the playoffs and even go to the Super Bowl. That's always the goal for them, because the Chiefs are the bride, the Bills are the bridesmaid at this point. It doesn't matter how many times you beat the Chiefs in the regular season. The goal is to get to the Super Bowl and get by the Kansas City Chiefs. Buffalo needs to accomplish this task. It doesn't matter how many division titles you win, because division titles at this point mean nothing to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very accurate, because the Buffalo Bills have had some really good teams. Josh Allen is coming off an MVP season, not MVP caliber. He won MVP last year. And I think last year in Arrowhead was probably the best chance they had to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the fact that they didn't do it when the Chiefs have proven to be so overrated in the regular season just baffles me. It really just baffles me, because
why are you spamming the tush push when the Chiefs have been shutting that down all game?
Seriously, it makes no sense to me. It's just like the Bills have the talent to beat Kansas City. They've proven it in the regular season, but that's nothing. It's literally nothing at this point. If you can't get it done in a big spot, you don't deserve to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And if you don't make it in with this current core, I'm about to go scorched earth on the Bills.
Oh my God. We might have to say that for Fresh Finder Friday, maybe back in January if things go that way. All right. Yeah. So next up, we got the AFC North, which consists of the Ravens, the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Browns. The two Ohio teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are looking for number 7, and then the Baltimore Ravens, who are the only one of few immortal teams in the NFL, meaning they haven't lost a Super Bowl game in their history. Now, This is also the first division since the pre-World War II era where all 4 teams finished above 500 back in 2023. So now, but this is a completely different outlook. The Browns are the Bengals are one-sided. The Steelers may have a positive outlook, but you don't know how it's going to translate on the field. And then Baltimore just looks really good. So to make my prediction, I have the Baltimore Ravens winning the division. I mean, it's simple as that because this team is just built for success. Derrick Henry, they upgraded their secondary. Lamar Jackson's getting better as a passer. So I like where this team is going. Their forefront, their defensive front is good. Their offensive line is stellar. I like where this team is going. And I think we said, or at least a couple of us said, that the Ravens are the second best team in the AFC. So, and I buy it. I buy it 100%. Second place, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them getting into the playoffs as a wild card. When we do our wild cards, spoiler alert, that's been one of my wild cards. So I have Pittsburgh getting in as a wild card, second place. I just like the Aaron Rodgers aspect of it all. As long as he keeps his ego in check, and as long as he keeps his ayahuasca hidden somewhere, I think that Aaron Rodgers can make the Pittsburgh Steelers a good playoff team. And I think they can be a strong second place team. They paid TJ Watt already, so I think we might see Pittsburgh have a good team. Whether or not they can win a playoff game, that's entirely up to Mike Tomlin whether he decides to have his guys ready for Sundays. Third place, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals, like I mentioned, they're one-sided. They have a fantastic offense. And while they did sign Shamar Stewart to that contract we mentioned earlier, their defense is still lackluster. And Joe Burrow can throw for 5,500 yards. It's not going to matter. If you don't have a defense that supports you and takes the pressure off of you, it's not going to matter. You're not going to win games. So they say defense wins championships, and they say offense wins games. But with the Bengals, it's the complete opposite. You need defense to win games, and offense wins you championships. You have the offensive comp of the Bengals in the playoffs. But out of the Bengals in third, the Browns, I heard Shedeur Sanders has been looking good in training camp, but he's under the gun because of a speeding ticket that he got recently. And then Dylan Gabriel, I don't really know what to say about him. Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Haslam should be kicking himself in the rear for that fully guaranteed contract. And then Joe Flacco you brought just because you needed an insurance policy. And the Browns don't have much depth and talent anymore, which is unfortunate because this team was in the playoffs a couple of years ago. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Stefanski is the first coach fired at the end of the year.
Forgot about Kenny Pickett.
Or Kenny Pickett, but he didn't do much for me. So I have
You
the
won a
Ravens,
Super Bowl
the
ring?
Steelers, the Bengals, and the Browns in first, second, third, fourth. John?
I have it the exact same way. Ravens are one of my top 5 teams. They improved their defense. Jair Alexander, key name. A lot of people don't remember this, but Lamar Jackson actually had better numbers than Mr. MVP.
Yep.
So I see them coming back and winning this division. I like what the Steelers are doing. I make the joke that they paid a lot of money to go 9-7 or 9-8, but I think they're actually good. They'll probably win 10 games this year and be second. The Bengals, they're going to have to score 35 points a game just to be competitive, as bad as their defense is. The secondary is probably going to be bagging groceries next year. And then, the Browns are going to brown. They already messed up their season with that helmet reveal faux pas with the camera guy falling into the lake. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but I think that's just how the Brown season is going to go. So I'm exact same with you.
Awesome. Kev?
Again, exactly the same as the both of you. I have the Ravens winning this division because, like we said, the Ravens, it doesn't matter who's on the field. They are a consistently good team every single year. And that's a testament to how well John Harbaugh coaches that team and keeps them all set up for success. Lamar Jackson is the next great quarterback for them. And like John said, he had better numbers than Josh Allen, who won MVP last year. And the AFC is going to run through the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens. And Ravens, like for their hump, they just need to same thing for what the Bills need to do to get past the Chiefs. The Ravens need to get past the Bills in the playoffs too, and the Chiefs, both of them. Like if you can't be both, if you can't pick off each other, you're not going to go to the Super Bowl. But I digress. They're going to win that division easy. Steelers, again, I feel like it's kind of a given that they're going to be at least one game over 500 when you consider the fact that Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in his tenure, which is crazy with the amount of quarterbacks that he's had and with the different amounts of personnel that he's had. You lock up TJ Watt and you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's in his final swan song year. And as long as he doesn't get hurt, well, even if he does get hurt, I still feel like he can teach Will Howard enough to set him up for success towards the future whenever he is gone. So I feel like the Steelers definitely get second place. Bengals third because, like John said, the offense needs to absolutely carry that team, especially when you consider the fact that how poor their defense is. And also, every single year, the Bengals always start off really slow.
Yeah.
But like every time they like start slow, they really start to ramp and pick it back up. And then you might see them in like the wild card or a scenario like that. But I do see them third in that division. Browns at the bottom. Now I know I saw that Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel in training camp, they were taking reps with the first team reps. Shador Sanders is taking reps with the third team in training camp. So I found that a bit interesting. So I wonder if they're gonna start off with Joe Flacco to start and then transition into maybe Sanders, Pickett, or Gabriel. It remains to be seen because the Browns now when they had an issue with not having enough quarterbacks, now they have a surplus of quarterbacks, and all of them are vying for that starting position. But if you really ask me, I think Joe Flacco is going to win that starting position, and maybe you'll start to see Shador Sanders in the latter half of the season when they're already out of the playoffs. But Browns are going to be like what they are, and that's just not a good team right now, especially with the improvements of all the other teams in there. So yeah, same thing: Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Browns.
Fascinating. Alec?
Ditto, except I had the Bengals over the Steelers for second place.
Really?
Ravens, it's straightforward with the Ravens because exceptional offense, exceptional quarterback, exceptional offensive line, exceptional defense, revamped special teams with Tyler Loop as your kicker. What more could you possibly have if you're the Ravens? In a jam-packed AFC, you would imagine that they'll be slam dunk favorites to get to the Super Bowl. But alas, there's always something that gets in the way in the playoffs and they don't make it to the Super Bowl. Last year we said no excuses. I'm going to stick to that again for the Ravens. No excuses this year if you don't make it, even with Kansas City and Buffalo in the way. Cleveland, ditto. I'm just going to mark this right now before I say this. Your season's over before it even began. Your season ended the moment that cameraman fell onto the lake. That's where the season ended. It doesn't matter how many quarterback drills you do with those 5 quarterbacks between Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. Doesn't matter. Season's over. And for the Steelers, am I the only one here who is not that high on the Steelers? And that's telling something, given that I am myself and I'm a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
I get the defense is the defensive pieces are there, even when you move on from Minka Fitzpatrick. You get Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey to go on with Joey Porter Jr. on the corners. The linebacker room is set. You just extended TJ Watt. Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig are perfect complementary pieces next to him. So how is it that I am not that high on this team? Will the real Aaron Rodgers please step up? And I'm not talking about the Aaron Rodgers that likes to cause locker room drama or go into ayahuasca retreats. I'm talking about the Aaron Rodgers that can be good enough to win you games. Not the bad Aaron Rodgers that we saw over at the Jets. We're seeing a solid offensive line, an underrated one with that aside, but we need more outside receivers. We already have enough tight ends as is, but can this team be good enough? Now, I can see us getting second in the AFC North, but that's the ceiling that we have. Second in the AFC North. Can we win a playoff game? Well, I'll give us a shot if we face the Texans, that is, because if we face the Ravens or the Bills, we're just meat on the ground. And there are hungry tigers waiting that being for that meat to arrive. Speaking of hungry tigers, I bet those tigers are hungry for defense because the Bengals don't even have a defense. The only reason why I have them at second is because there's a realistic scenario. They can have the best offense in the league and a bottom 5 defense in the league. And that bottom 5 defense is going to hold them back from the AFC North title because Mike Brown just throws defense out the window and giving that all away, giving away his defensive pieces for other teams. I mean, you almost pissed off Shamar Stewart, and now you just assigned him to a fully guaranteed contract. And at the and for what? You have Trey Hendrickson go back to his home state of Florida, like he posted on that Instagram story. You better hope that he shows up of a new contract, perhaps to the caliber of either Max Crosby, Myles Garrett. I don't expect him passing TJ Watt on the contract talks, but you better hope that he shows up. Otherwise, you're going nowhere in the playoffs. Matter of fact, I'm confident to say the Bengals are a wild card exit at best. I'm confident to say that. If you don't have a top defense in the league, you're not going anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The defense is not built to win you playoff games as is. The offense might as well be, but when you need a course defensive stop, only Trey Hendrickson's there. What the hell is your plan?
Yeah. I mean, the Steelers, you're probably more critical because you're a Steelers fan. You probably see more of what's going on than any of us do. So I can understand why you're so critical on them. But at the same time, I think they have more on paper to offer than the Bengals do. That's just my opinion.
Tickle me, Alec has spoken.
Oh, goodness. We're back to those Elmo jokes.
No,
Guaranteed.
oh, God.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Okay, we're going to the AFC South. Alec mentioned the Texans. That the AFC South does include the Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, and Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna start with my predictions. First place, easy, got the Houston Texans. I like where this team's going. I think DeMeco Ryan has built a strong culture with this team. I love the trajectory CJ Stroud is on. I think it's very unfortunate that his receivers have been banged up last year, but I think that they're going to get their guys back from injury as far as receiver goes. I like the Texans defense a lot. They're getting better game by game, the Texans defense. And they proved their worth in that wild card victory against the Chargers last postseason. So I think they're definitely stepping up, and they took it to the Chiefs in the divisional round. So they have something to offer here. And I think that against the Colts, the Jaguars, and Titans, I think that they're easily better than all three of those teams. Second place, I have the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm saying this if Daniel Jones is the starter. Why? Because I think Daniel Jones brings more to the table in a new environment than Anthony Richardson would. Why? Because Daniel Jones proved, like many players who've come to New York to play any sport, the New York market kills you mentally and physically. I think Daniel Jones in Indianapolis with Shane Steichen running the offense and coaching this team, I think he'll have a resurrection season. I think he might, be comeback player of the year consideration. And I think that maybe he can prove to the Giants that he had something to offer after all. And that 2022 was not a fluke. He just needed a culture change. Third place, I have the Jaguars. Duval. That doesn't really do it. I want to see Trevor Lawrence bounce back. Last year, he was terrible. And that's just putting it lightly. And Doug Peterson got the boot. It worked for 1 year with Trevor Lawrence, but then it didn't work after that. And now he's gone. And Trevor Lawrence is slowly starting to lose some of the prestige that he had when he was at the University of Clemson. So I think that Trevor can bounce back if coached correctly. And then last place, the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward season, because Will Levis is hurt. And the Titans, roster-wise, don't really have much to talk about here. Nothing to write home to your mother about. So I have the Texans, the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Titans. John?
I still am not a believer in the Colts, even with Daniel Jones at QB. I like I like the Jags. There's a lot of question marks with the Jags. They have a first-year head coach. They have some question marks at running back. But they are definitely my second place team. Texans are number one. And then it gets really muddy. I think the Titans are going to do better than a lot of people expect. And they probably would be one game up above or below the Colts based on schedule. But I have Texans, Jags, Colts, Titans.
Fascinating. Kev?
I have the Texans at first for the same reasons both of you guys mentioned. The Jaguars in second place because you also both of you neglected to mention like how good is Travis Hunter going to be
Right.
for the Jaguars? Like, can he really be like that big impact whenever the Jacksonville Jaguars did trade up to get him at pick number 2 in the draft this past year?
True.
And I'm going to be very curious to see like how well he meshes with the chemistry, especially with the new head coach. And also, I think that Jaguars could surprise a lot of people because of a guy like Travis Hunter and like how much attention he's going to bring. So I do see them at 2, but I don't think that they're going to be better than the Texans. Third place, again, it's a bit tricky for me because on one hand, again, it's same thing as you, Matt. Like if Daniel Jones starts instead of Anthony Richardson for the Colts, I could see them being third. But then again, when you look at the Titans and how poorly they were last year with quarterbacks along the likes of Will Levis and Malik Willis, and Will Levis is now hurt, but you get a quarterback like Cam Ward, who, if he's anything on paper like he was in college, I see the Titans being better than people expected. So I actually have the Titans third here in this division and Colts in last. Yes, because again, it might be a good thing for Daniel Jones to maybe he'll be successful with a type of culture change. But you also have to consider the fact that like how good are the Colts overall, even with a guy like Daniel Jones? To me, yes. Daniel Jones is the type of guy that could impact like a different team. But is he better than a guy like, say, Sam Darnold when he made his impact when he was on the Vikings this past season? And like now he's valuable for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think so. I think that the Colts are going to finish last. The Titans are going to finish third, Jaguars second, and Houston Texans first.
Okay. Alec?
I'm not going to go chaotic on this one as I did with my NFC West predictions, but it's pretty much straightforward for who is going to win this. Houston. And the explanation is simple. They're the best team in this division, best constructed team offensively, and defensively, they're very underrated. They need to improve on the offensive line, though, and they haven't addressed the offensive line, whether it be C.J. Stroud or any of their quarterbacks past. Historically, they've been bad on the offensive line. That's what I want to look to for Houston if they were to make that next leap. Second place, I tend to align more with Kevin on Jacksonville because Jacksonville, it could be an interesting case. Trevor Lawrence may need a reset badly mentally. If Liam Cohen could be that guy to lead them offensively and have them take that next step, it could point to some things ahead for them. Unless if Cohen is basically a product of the Tampa Bay system, in which it was led with Dave Canales and himself as the offensive coordinator those 2 years with Baker Mayfield. Now Cohen needs to take the right lessons that he learned with Baker and instill that with Jacksonville. Also with Travis Hunter's impact on both sides of the field. Thing is, where are you wanting to lean him toward? You're wanting to have him more offensively oriented? Yes, that's not saying that you should not restrict him defensively, because defense, it needs a vast improvement. Now, are you going to get that vast improvement? Is that defensive turnaround going to come? It's more to do with the offense if there's going to be that bounce back year. Third, I see Indianapolis with the Colts. Now, Daniel Jones may need that mental reset after his time with the Giants came to an end. He's the guy that can benefit the most from a culture change in Indianapolis. I'm not saying that they'll be eye-popping or anything because they don't have anything resembling anything that stands out. Although defensively, they've been a mixed bag. Last year, that the whole defensive boat fell apart. Offensively, it could bounce back with Jonathan Taylor getting a full year. Now, and the question now is Daniel Jones, if he's going to flourish. Tennessee, Cam Ward will win you some games, but overall, the situation at Tennessee is
Oh God. Oh God. Oh my God.
I did the Will Levis pose to surrender Cobra.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Okay. We have one more division left. Then we gotta get into fresh Final Five. We're gonna get to the AFC West. This division is owned by one team and one team only. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. In that division, though, are the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Denver Broncos. I'm gonna get my division prediction first. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. The Chiefs win that division. Unless the Chargers take things up a gear and then actually beat Kansas City in a division game in the regular season, I can't see that happen. So the Chiefs are number one. The Chargers are easily number two because they are talented. They are well coached. I've always liked Justin Herbert as a passer and someone to lead an offense. And the Chargers defense is okay, but it's good enough to win them games, complemented by an offense led by Justin Herbert, coached by Jim Harbaugh. Third place, hard, but I gotta go with the Denver Broncos. And the reason why is because the Sean Payton of it all makes it work. And unless Bo Nix has a sophomore slump, which some people can see happening, I think that the Denver Broncos are better than the Raiders. And then the Raiders I have in last place. It's just a big mixed bag of what are we getting here, because Pete Carroll's the new head coach. He's 74. I don't know how he's doing this. I want whatever he's having. And then Ashton Jeanty should be really fun to watch as at the running back position. But if Geno Smith's your passer and then all you got in your pass rush is Max Crosby, I don't know how this is going to pan out. So I have the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. John?
Same. I have this. I will say that for me, I saw a lot of chinks in the Chiefs' armor during the Super Bowl. So I'm saying this is the beginning of the end for the Chiefs. I don't know who's going to come up, if it's going to be the Chargers or the Broncos. I have the Chargers in second place. I love their draft. I'm really looking forward to a Marion Hampton running the ball. One of my receivers that I wanted for Seattle went to LA. Trey Harris. I think he's going to do amazing out there. And then Broncos, just because they have a really, really good defense, and Bo Nix can't get any worse than he was last year. And then the Raiders. I think the Raiders are, this is the first year of their actual rebuild under Pete Carroll. Geno Smith, I don't know that he has a lot to work with down there. So I agree with what you said.
Kevin?
Again, same thing as you guys have both mentioned. Chiefs, clear-cut favorite, number one there, although they do have some flaws. Chargers, again, with the new leadership with Jim Harbaugh and with getting guys like Omarion Hampton in the draft. Trey Harris, who was Jackson Dart's one of his best receivers when he was with Ole Miss. So yep. I know very much about Trey Harris and what he can bring to the table. And yeah, third Broncos. Again, I think that they overachieved last season. The Broncos did, and with Bo Nix, like I think me and my dad were saying it. Even though he was like one of the more older guys, quarterback wise, like in last year's draft, like he is proven to be an accurate quarterback, and I think he's brought this Broncos franchise back to a little bit of a resurgence, if you will. And for the Raiders, I have them last only because same thing as John. They're in their first real year of a rebuild, so it might take them a couple of seasons or a few to really for them to gel and the chemistry to come together. But again, Genty should be very fun to watch. Max Crosby getting their big contract that he had there. But again, for the same reasons, Pete Carroll, I think will give him like an improvement by maybe like 3 to 5 games if we're talking about more wins. But again, I still have them last in that division.
Okay, we gotta get to fresh, fine, and fried. Go ahead.
All right. Same, but I'm swapping the Broncos and Chargers. I'm putting Denver at number 2 here. Kansas City, straightforward. But I'm going to exercise caution. For those saying that this is the year the Chiefs are going to fall off, you're in for a rude awakening in this year. You're in for a very rude awakening saying that if we're saying that the Chiefs are going to fall, because you're just tempting fate here. You're tempting fate that somehow they're going to fall off a cliff. The only way that happens is if Mahomes suffers a devastating injury that is sidelining him for the season. That's the only way it's going to happen, because the Chiefs are still going to do their thing. Now, I don't anticipate it being as fluky as last year was, because I proclaimed the Chiefs as frauds last year. This year, I don't think that same case is going to repeat. Denver, I feel they're going to build on last year with Bo Nix and company. But one of the main reasons why they're going to build on it is because their defense is sneakily underrated with their front seven and their back end. Pat Surtain won Defensive Player of the Year for a reason, because he is lights out, locked down. And you add that with Jahdae Barron opposite him on the defensive back, you're building something special, Denver, on the defensive side. If you can build that offense up, you may need another wideout to help Courtland Sutton, because you trade away Jerry Jeudy now that he's out the picture. Los Angeles is a mixed bag, because they can be anywhere from second place to outside the picture. But I still love what Jim Harbaugh is doing with this team, focusing on heavy power running and to stick to what works best for the Chargers. A rushing game between Amarian Hampton and Najee Harris, and a stout defense that can play in your face. I feel the Chargers, we're putting them at number 3 may be insulting, but there are way too many talented teams in the AFC, even think about. And the Raiders, this is year 1 of their true rebuild. Yes, you have Geno Smith, but you're building a team around Ashton Ginty. This is his team now.
Yeah, all right. That's kind of a surprise that you're switching the Broncos and Chargers like that, but I think we'll have to see if innocent can be proven guilty. But now we got to get into my favorite segment of the show. This is Fresh, Fine, or Fried. Alec is on the hot seat this week. I can only imagine what he has. So for those of you who are new to Fresh, Fine, or Fried, here's how this is going to work. Alec will get 2.5 minutes to say whatever is on his mind. It can be sports related. It doesn't have to be sports related. It can be whatever he wants. And then at the end of his 2.5-minute vent, we will rate his take on fresh meaning good, fine meaning okay, or fried meaning god awful. Alec, you ready?
Yes.
2.5 minutes? Go.
All right, I'm going to keep this as PG-13 as possible, because this relates to a sensitive issue. But every day, we need to believe victims more each passing days. There are people who are going to come after me for this, but here's some hard-to-swallow pills in regards to the latest Hockey Canada trial. Not guilty is not the same as innocent. Those are two completely different meanings, and we need to treat them as such. The victim, in this case, was not in a position to give consent at all at that hotel room when 4 of the men showed up there, not invited at all. So the victim is not in a position to give any sort of consent. Why? Because she was drunk. And Hockey Canada didn't even give her a settlement for this. The treatment she got during this cross-examination was completely insulting and disrespectful to all extents. And the ruling that was just prescribed was a terrible precedent to victims of sexual assault. It essentially teaches survivors your trauma will be weaponized against you. Your attempts to protect others will be viewed as dishonesty. Fear, intoxication, silence, and even compliance will be treated as consent. And that even if you do everything right in a legal proceeding case like this one, you could still lose a case. You want to know how damning this is? Out of every 1,000 such cases, 975 perpetrators walk free, which is a complete insult to how this all proceeds down to. And we're all wondering why we have victims who are not speaking out. We're just seeing the why unfold in real time. Victim blaming is very constant in cases such as these. And the 5 players involved here should never play another game in the NHL ever again. Who are they? Cal Foote, Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Formanton, and Dylan Dubé. They should never play another game in the NHL ever again. And it's sickening that they were all found not guilty of any such counts. It's absolutely sickening that the victim had to relive her experience and to traumatize herself all over again to be let down by the justice system. Shameful. Absolutely shameful.
Wow. 10 seconds spare. Thank you. Okay. Kevin, fresh, fine, or fried?
As fresh as tomatoes from the vine, Alec, that take. I agree. The justice system gets away with so much, and the perpetrators are not held accountable. Now, when I saw that, you mentioned Michael McLeod. I remember him when he was part of that Devils team, like when they were on that playoff run 3 years ago, and Michael McLeod made that game, that go-ahead goal in Game 7, and then to find out what he did the year after, I thought was foolish. To even put it lightly, like those guys, like not guilty and innocent. Again, it's terrible, like what the justice system has become to of that. And again, I think the settlement's an insult. So like, I completely agree with that take. 1,000% fresh there.
Nice. John, fresh, fine, or fried?
I agree. It's definitely a fresh take. The more and more we have social media peel back the layers of these people's lives, the more we see that there's a lot of things that get swept under the rug. A lot of people get away with a lot of things that they should not be getting away with, and that the justice system on a whole is broken and breaking and tragically old-fashioned in a lot of ways, especially in Canada where they do things a little bit differently than we do.
Absolutely, positively fresh. I think that the way we look at crimes and the way we look at the way what people have done to find themselves in court, I think our justice system is flawed, absolutely flawed. And I think that the fact that these guys who you mentioned are still allowed to play hockey and are found not guilty or innocent, it's just despicable. I think our justice system needs a massive change. And I think those guys who you mentioned were involved in the hockey case for assault or sexual assault should never be allowed to participate in that sport ever again. Period.
Point blank. Do not even consider coming back to the NHL ever again. No matter how much you even want to do so. Don't even come back.
No, don't even blink. All right. So on a more positive note, we got to get into Four Sqaure Fantasy 2025. This is basically the league that the four of us plus four other people are involved in. And what's the prize? Well, it's winner takes all. It's $25 for each person, so it's $200 on the line. Winner takes everything. And the winner will also get a Heisman Trophy-like fantasy football trophy. I have one in my bedroom that I look at before I go to sleep and feel proud that I'm actually a fantasy champion. And Kevin almost won his fantasy league last year, but now he has a chance to prove it or stick it to us this year. And who's joining us this year? Well, it's the four of us, plus my girlfriend, Sammy Myers, the one and only Lily Schumacher, Matt Daddy Diddy Roo from the Armchair Commentators Unite Discord, and our own friend, Jake Hogger. Those are the 8 people. Now, to be fun about this and come up with my team name, I went the SpongeBob SquarePants route, ladies and gentlemen. So, for those of you who know this episode, I'll reference it. Firmly grasp it in your hand. Firmly grasp it. Hold on. Firmly grasp it. That's my team name. Firmly grasp it, and I would have put it in all caps if I had the time.
Jesus, Matt.
Man.
Okay. So now that's out of the way. Kevin, what's your team name?
Okay, so I thought about it, and usually when I do team names, it depends on like which kind of players I have from when I picked. But then I looked at your name, and I'm like, well, dang, like I should do a SpongeBob one too. you know. And then I thought of a few ones in consideration. I thought of like, since my name is Kevin, I thought my name could be like, the Jelly Spotters, because of that one episode where it was like Kevin the Sea Cucumber as like the leader and stuff like that. But then I was looking at other names, and then I'm like, you know what sounds more dope? The Hash Slinging Slashers. So my team is going to be the Hash Slinging Slashers.
I love that. Alec?
All right. I know we're continuing with the theme, and I know it's more the theme of entertainment. You two went with the SpongeBob route. I'm going with the Sonic the Hedgehog route because I happen to be a fan of this iconic video game franchise. So if we're going with a certain theme, my team name will be the Blue Blurs.
I like it. John?
Solid.
Well, I mean, I usually do something punny. Like one of my more common fantasy team names is I See Dak People, DAK.
Oh God.
The other one that I really liked was Zach's Hot Mom. I love that one. So stuff like that. The other one that I really like was Hurt So Good. Stuff like that. So, but because of our family dynamic and because of Sam Darnold being in Seattle this year, my team name is going to be Son of Sammy.
Oh my God.
Because I'm going to murder everybody.
Oh. Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Now, while Sammy Myers, my girlfriend, is next to me, she did tell me her team name. It's going to be based on where she went to school, which is the University of Alabama. But it won't be a Crimson Tide. One thing that Sammy told me was I love the underdogs. So, Sammy Myers' team name will be the Alabama Underdogs. And then Jake Hogger, Lily Schumacher, and Matt will have to come up with their own team names, and they'll probably have to announce on the show, or even when we do a live draft for fantasy this year. But that concludes the most part of what we are doing for the show. Now, before we go, I want to bring our sponsor, DAS Technology Consulting, back into play. So, DAS Technology Consulting, we mentioned before what their mission and what they're all about. But here are their partners and OEMs that they work with. Check it out.
Our mission is to deliver high quality, scalable, and secure data center services that ensure seamless operations for clients across various industries, offering best-in-class data center services all under one roof.
Again, thank you so much to DAS Technology for sponsoring this show. We greatly appreciate it. Now, before we get into the conclusion of the show, I did mention it's Kevin's birthday. So before we go, and I promised Kevin that we would do this, and Sammy, I want you to get up out of bed and actually come over here because we're going to sing happy birthday to Kevin. All right. Are y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kevin.
You're
Happy
welcome for none of us
birthday
being in
to
tune.
Good one, John.
And Kevin, I have something to tell you.
Hmm?
I thought of something funnier than 24. 25. Anyways, from Matt Sirianni, Kevin Zolkovic, Alec Nava, John Welch, I'm Matt Sirianni. God bless you all for tuning in to tonight's episode of Four Square Sports. And also, please treat your elders who are 60 over with respect and treat them with kindness because, like Four Sqaure once said, old people are the greatest. They're full of wisdom and experience. God bless you all. This has been Four Sqaure Sports, which has been sports at its core. Take care, everybody.